Imagine a place where the world is crumbling around you, where every day is a battle to survive, yet within the ruins, you witness a power more profound than any hardship, a smile that defies despair, a mother's silence stronger than walls, children's laughter ringing through the rubble. This is Gaza, a place where humanity shines brightest in the darkest of times. Today, I'm going to share with you the profound lessons I learned from the people there. Their resilience, faith, and joy will inspire you to see happiness, not as a destination, but as a way of life. Stay with me. Sometimes one encounter can change everything you thought you knew. In the heart of Gaza, I met a Muslim family who redefined the meaning of strength, love, and true happiness. What struck me first wasn't what they had, it was what they didn't. No modern comforts, no certainty about tomorrow, and yet they radiated a kind of peace and joy that most people in the West spend a lifetime chasing. The father greeted me with a calm smile that seemed to carry centuries of wisdom. The mother, though soft-spoken and visibly weary, moved with a quiet strength that held her family together like gravity. Their children laughed freely, their eyes shining, not with material satisfaction, but with the kind of joy that comes from deep connection and simple love. There were no screens, no distractions, just the warmth of presence. When was the last time you felt that kind of clarity, that deep sense of meaning, not tied to achievement, wealth, or recognition, but rooted in being fully present with the people you love? This family showed me that happiness isn't something you buy or plan for. It's something you live, minute by minute, by choosing gratitude, connection, and purpose. Their home was modest, their means limited, but their hearts were rich. In a world obsessed with chasing more, their way of life whispered a bold truth. Joy isn't found in having everything, it's found in loving what you already have. Their resilience didn't just impress me, it awakened me. And in that moment I realized they weren't just surviving, they were living better than most. Imagine walking through a place where buildings have been reduced to broken concrete, where the air smells of dust and ash, and where silence often follows the sound of loss. That's Gaza. And yet, in the middle of this destruction, I saw something that took my breath away. Hope. Not a passive kind of hope, but a fierce, glowing resilience that refused to be extinguished. Everywhere I turned, I saw kindness. A man offering tea from a scorched home. A child sharing his only toy with a stranger. A woman sweeping the dirt outside her shattered doorstep, preserving dignity in a place that tried to steal it. This wasn't denial, it was courage. It was the decision to rise each day with grace, even when life offers no guarantees. How often do we let small inconveniences steal our peace? A traffic jam, a delayed email, a missed promotion. These are not ruins, these are moments, but we treat them like collapse. The people of Gaza have taught me something powerful, that happiness isn't the absence of hardship, it's the presence of spirit, of connection, of choosing compassion when bitterness would be easier. If you're chasing a happy, meaningful life, it won't be built on perfect conditions. It'll be built on your response to imperfect ones. In Gaza, I saw humanity stripped bare, and it was beautiful. Even in devastation, people smiled. They gave, they hoped. And in doing so, they reminded me, and now you, that light doesn't wait for darkness to leave, it shines right through it. This is the kind of wisdom that changes how we live, not later, now. In the middle of a war zone, I met a woman who changed the way I understand strength. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. Her silence carried more power than words ever could. This mother stood in the ruins of her home, holding her children close, embodying a calm resilience that defied everything falling apart around her. Her hands were trembling, her body tired, but her spirit unshakable. She cooked with limited food, comforted her children with no guarantee of safety, and faced each day not knowing what it would bring. And yet there was peace in her eyes, not because life was easy, but because her love was steady. Her quiet presence became a shelter stronger than any wall. How often do we overlook the power of calm presence in our own lives? In our rush to be heard, to be busy, to achieve, we forget that true strength often whispers. It doesn't always come with applause or recognition. Sometimes it looks like a mother holding her family together while the world breaks around her. We chase happiness like it's something outside of us, but this woman showed me it's already within. It's in how we show up, how we love, how we carry others, even when we're tired, scared, or broken ourselves. In her silence, I found a powerful truth. Happiness isn't loud. It doesn't need to be. It lives in the everyday acts of devotion, of care, of holding steady when life shakes you. Her quiet grace didn't just protect her children, it awakened something deep in me. And maybe, if you're ready to hear it, it can awaken something in you too. In Gaza, I witnessed something I'll never forget, prayers rising from broken places. The walls were gone, ceilings collapsed, the sky visible through shattered roofs, and still every evening families laid down prayer mats on dusty floors, facing Mecca with hands lifted and hearts full. Not asking for riches, not even for safety, just connection, just peace, just the strength to keep going. This wasn't ritual for the sake of tradition. It was raw, sacred resilience. In those moments, I realized that true faith isn't about perfect circumstances. It's about finding something unshakable within, even when everything around you is falling apart. Their prayers were a kind of power, a source of joy in the middle of heartbreak. Now take a moment and think, how do you respond when life doesn't go your way? We panic, we spiral, we complain about small delays, unmet expectations, the discomforts of modern life. But these people taught me that inner peace isn't dependent on external stability. It's a daily practice, a choice, a declaration. I will not be defeated, even if my world is cracked open. What if happiness is less about control and more about surrender? What if it's found not in managing every outcome, but in grounding yourself in something deeper: faith, purpose, love? The people I met didn't wait for peace to arrive. They created it with their prayers, their stillness, their unwavering belief in something higher. In that moment, I saw something extraordinary. I saw joy, not as a result of escaping hardship, but as a flame that could survive it. Their faith wasn't confined to walls. It rose through the rubble, through the silence, and into the heavens. A reminder that even in life's darkest seasons, we can still choose light. In the middle of devastation, I saw her smile, and it stopped me. It wasn't just a gesture of politeness. It was a quiet rebellion. A woman surrounded by broken buildings and broken promises chose to smile anyway. And in that moment, it felt like the bravest thing in the world. Her smile wasn't blind to suffering. It stood up to it. It said, "You will not steal my joy." That kind of grace doesn't come from comfort. It comes from clarity, knowing what really matters, and choosing to protect it with everything you've got. How often do we lose our happiness over things that barely matter? A day later, a late flight, a bad meeting, a rude comment online. We let small things rob us of big peace. This woman reminded me, happiness is a choice. Not a naive one, but a courageous one. Her smile wasn't weakness, it was power. A symbol of inner strength, unshaken by the chaos outside. If you want a life filled with happiness, start there. Smile anyway, love anyway, rise anyway. Because sometimes, joy is the most radical thing you can hold on to. In Gaza, I sat with a family whose language I didn't speak. No common words, no shared phrases, and yet within minutes, I understood everything that mattered. A gentle smile, a warm hand on the shoulder, a steaming cup of tea offered with nothing but kindness. It was in that silence that I realized something powerful. Love, compassion, and connection don't need translation. Their hospitality was effortless. Their welcome was real. They had little, but they gave without hesitation, not with grand speeches, but with simple, intentional acts. In their eyes, in their laughter, in their gestures, I felt seen, known, and embraced. That kind of human connection doesn't come from words. It comes from the heart. Really think about this. How often do we rely on texts, emails, and endless talking, yet still feel disconnected? We've mastered communication, but forgotten how to truly connect. If you want to live a full, happy life, start tuning into the quiet moments, the presence, the touch, the way someone makes you feel without saying anything. That's where the soul speaks. That's where real joy lives. What I learned in that room, without a single word exchanged, is something we all need to remember. The most meaningful relationships in our lives are not built on perfect communication, but on genuine emotion, on love given freely, on presence, not performance. You don't need the right words to change someone's day. Sometimes just being fully there is more powerful than anything you could say. And in a noisy world, that kind of silent connection might just be the loudest expression of happiness we have. In Gaza, I met people who had every reason to give up, but didn't. They lived without electricity for days. They walked through rubble to find food. They tucked their children in at night with no promise that tomorrow would be safe. And yet, there was something extraordinary in the way they lived. Like every breath, every shared meal, every laugh was a declaration. We're still here. Their lives weren't defined by tragedy. They were defined by a strength so deep, so steady, it made survival look like victory. Not because life was easy, but because they refused to let fear, loss, or destruction steal their humanity. Really let that sink in. How do you respond when life gets uncomfortable, when plans fall apart or things don't go your way? Most of us are chasing happiness, but we confuse it with convenience, with control, with everything going just right. True happiness isn't about avoiding hard things. It's about discovering who you are in the middle of them. The people in Gaza showed me that resilience is a form of joy, a quiet, steady refusal to give in to hopelessness. They still found time to laugh, to pray, to celebrate birthdays. They lived like every ordinary moment was sacred, and that changed everything. If you want a happy life, stop waiting for perfect conditions. Start building strength in the now. Choose grace in hardship. Find light in the dark. Because resilience isn't just survival. It's power, it's wisdom, and it's the foundation of a happiness that no circumstance can take away. Standing in the middle of Gaza, watching families navigate unimaginable loss with dignity and grace, I felt something shift inside me. It wasn't guilt, it was awakening. These people had nothing close to what we would call comfort. No stable electricity, no consistent food supply, no sense of safety. And yet they carried themselves with gratitude, presence, and connection that many of us spend years chasing. They weren't consumed by what was missing, they celebrated what remained. A shared meal, a child's laughter, the simple fact that they had one another. In their hardest days, they still found room for love. Really think about this. How often do we trade peace for productivity? How easily do we lose joy over Wi-Fi going down or a coffee order being wrong? We scroll through curated lives online and forget the real treasures. Breath, time, love, presence. The people I met reminded me that a happy life isn't made of luxuries, it's made of perspective. They didn't have less, they just noticed more. They taught me that true wisdom isn't about having it all, it's about knowing what actually matters. If you want to live wiser, happier, more fully, start there, with less noise, with more presence. Look at your life, not through the lens of what's missing, but through the grace of what is. Because happiness is not the result of everything going right. It's the result of seeing clearly, choosing gratitude, and living deeply. And sometimes, the clearest mirror to our lives is found in someone else's broken world, reflecting back the beauty we forgot was already ours. In a place where the ground is cracked and buildings lie in ruins, I heard something unexpected: laughter. Not nervous or hollow, but full, real, unfiltered laughter. Children played in the dust with handmade toys, chasing each other through broken streets as if they were running through a playground. There was no bitterness in their joy, only light. These children weren't blind to their reality. They had seen more than most of us can imagine. And yet, their joy wasn't a denial. It was a declaration, a choice to celebrate life, even in fragments. In every smile, every game, every burst of laughter, they proved something we often forget. Happiness isn't found in perfect conditions. It's created, even in the ruins. Now pause and ask yourself, when did you last laugh like that? Not politely, not because you should, but with your whole heart. We fill our lives with distractions, chasing joy through things, new gadgets, bigger homes, endless scrolling. But these children reminded me, joy doesn't come from what you own. It comes from your ability to feel fully, live freely, and love what's right in front of you. Their innocence wasn't ignorance, it was strength. It was wisdom in its purest form. They had every reason to be silent, scared, withdrawn, but they laughed. And that laughter echoed louder than the war around them. If you want a life that feels full, pay attention to what brings you joy, not just when things go right, but especially when they don't. Because real happiness isn't fragile, it's bold, defiant, and alive. And sometimes the best teachers of that truth are the smallest voices in the hardest places. When I left Gaza, I didn't just walk away with memories. I walked away with a responsibility. A promise to carry their story, their resilience, and their unwavering hope. In a place where survival is often seen as the only goal, I witnessed lives being lived with purpose, with joy, and with a depth of humanity that transcended their circumstances. It became clear to me that their story wasn't just a lesson, it was a call to action. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, what are you carrying with you? What stories, beliefs, or experiences shape your life? We often get caught up in our own narratives, our challenges, our setbacks, our desires. But true happiness comes when we start to see our lives as part of a larger story. The people of Gaza taught me that happiness isn't just about achieving personal goals. It's about understanding that we are all interconnected, that our joy is tied to the joy and struggles of others. Their resilience was not just a trait, it was a shared commitment to life, to family, to love. What would happen if we carried the stories of others with us not as burdens, but as a source of strength? What if we lived with the intention to honor, to remember, and to act upon the lessons we learn from those who inspire us? If you want a life filled with meaning, start by carrying the stories that challenge you, that push you to be better, that ignite your soul. The people I met in Gaza didn't just survive. They lived in ways that taught me how to live differently. And now, it's my responsibility to share that. And maybe it's yours too. As we reflect on the lessons learned from the resilient people of Gaza, we are reminded that true happiness isn't found in perfect circumstances, but in our response to them. It's about finding strength in silence, joy in simplicity, and purpose in adversity. These stories of love, faith, and resilience call us to live with greater presence, gratitude, and connection. I hope their wisdom inspires you to embrace life with more courage and joy. Thank you for your time and attention today. May you carry these lessons with you, live boldly, and find happiness in every moment. Good luck.